You may not think of yourself as a coach, but coaching skills are incredibly useful to have. If you manage someone or are in the process of hiring anyone, knowing how to help someone improve themselves is increasingly being recognized as a really valuable skill. In this video, we're going to talk about a particular coaching model, which is called the GROW model. And this is a really useful framework to use if you're ever having a conversation with someone about their future and where they want to get to. GROW is an acronym. It stands for goals, reality, options, and will. And I'm going to talk you through each step of that process in this video. In 15th century Hungary, there was a village called Kocs that was renowned for making carts that would transport goods between Vienna and Budapest. One of the carriages that was made at this time was called the Kocsi, named after the place where it was made. And this was essentially a bigger carriage that would start carrying people. Kocsi became known as coche in French and coach in English. The meaning of coach that we know today came from around 1830, when Oxford University started using the term coach to mean someone who carried someone through their exams, like carrying someone in a coach. And that same idea persists today. So a coach essentially carries someone from one state to another. The model of personal coaching that we know today was developed by someone called Thomas Leonard. He believed that people weren't broken and everyone has the potential for personal transformation. By questioning, listening, coaching someone, you can help them to take action and go on a personal journey of self-improvement. The idea of a coach is just to ask the right questions and draw those answers out from other people. A good coach asks the right questions that will encourage the person being coached to look quite deep inside themselves to search for that answer. When I trained to be a coach, the realization that there was a model I could follow was a game changer. When you're sat down and asking people questions, certainly early on, it's easy to get stuck and lost and not know what to ask next. But having this GROW structure gives you something to follow when you're having that sort of conversation with someone. There are lots of coaching models, and don't think that you need to stick to any particular one. But GROW is nice and simple and easy to remember to give you those structured questions. A good way to think about the GROW model is think about what you would do if you were planning a journey. So firstly, you think about where you want to get to, then you think about where you currently are, and then you think about the different routes that you can take to get there. You might even think about obstacles that you might encounter on the way and how you're going to overcome them. The G of GROW is goals. The first step in this system is to think about where you're trying to get to. Where's your destination? And the clearer you can get that in your mind, the easier it is to figure out the steps that you might need to take to get there. To set a really good goal, it should be ambitious. It shouldn't feel completely out of reach, but you want it to be something that you're going to have to work to get to. You want that goal to be inspiring and challenging. So here are some questions that you can ask all around goals. When you're asking questions about goals, it's not as simple as saying, what is your goal? You might want to ask follow-on questions to make that goal feel a bit more real. So who could benefit from this action, for example? When do you want to achieve this goal by? What will this look like when it's complete? How will you feel if you complete this goal? And this helps the person that's being coached really think about this end state, how it will make them feel exactly what it will look like, and it will start feeling more real in their mind. The next step is reality, R for reality. And you might think, why are we not starting with reality? That might seem like the logical step in this system. But you want to start the conversation with the goals to inspire people, and then consider, okay, where are you now? What's stopping you from moving towards that goal? Because if it was that easy, they would have reached the goal already. R is about establishing the current situation, the reality, and why they haven't started moving towards that goal at the moment. Or maybe they have, but they feel a bit stuck and they need a bit of help. Questions that you can ask during the reality stage of this process revolve around: where are you currently? What actions have you taken so far? What obstacles are getting in your way? Once you've established the goal and where the person is currently, the reality, you want to move on to options. So in our journey, these are the different routes that we can take. So what options does that person have to reach that end state? It might be about speaking to someone or writing something or producing something. It will be completely dependent on what that person's goal is. So think of questions that will help pull out what those different options might be. Sometimes people don't realize that there's more than one way to do something, and asking questions about lots of different various ways of doing things can really help here. The more options that people have, the more realistic that goal starts to feel to them. So you can ask people what their options are, but then maybe say, what else? What other options are there? What are the advantages and disadvantages of each option that they've just outlined? The final stage of this process is W for will. What will you do next? So this is about taking those options and turning them into reality. And your questions want to start making the action seem really real. Start with what will you do next, or what will your next action be? But also think about other W's, like when will you do that action? You can also ask questions to judge how likely it is that someone's actually going to do a particular action. So let's say they say, I will phone around 10 businesses and ask them for advice. Say to them, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to do that action? If they then think that's a low score, you can say, what could you do to turn that into a higher score? If they say they're unlikely to do a particular action, you can ask them, what would it take to get that to a 9 or a 10? And this is where the power of accountability can come in. If you are seeing that person on a regular basis, you can say, what will you commit to by the time we next meet? And you can then review that when you next meet with them and see how they got on. This is where coaching becomes really powerful, because once you've started the journey with them, you can then review their progress that they have made since the last time you met them. And if they failed to complete an action or they found it hard, that can be the basis of that session's coaching. What did you find hard? What was it that made it feel difficult? What support do you need? Who could you speak to make this easier? What could you do to make this difficult thing seem easier next time? So that's the GROW method: goals, reality, options, and will. Hopefully that's a useful framework for you to use next time you have a conversation with someone about their future. If you did find the video useful, you might want to check these ones out here and here, which cover some similar topics. Until next time, love you, bye.